Hello, I'm Charlie Brooker and this is Screen Wipe, a feel-good show about television.
They're gonna taste great.
Oh good, this is hardly ever on.
I can hear the sound of Frosty's hitting me plates.
It's not a plate, it's a bowl. Ooh.
Or the Empire State.
Even a man with cancer of the prostate.
They're gonna taste great. They're gonna taste great.
It looks like he's having a fit. What do you feel like doing first thing in the morning then, eh? Having a bit of a wash, yeah? Eating a bowl of cereal, or watching somebody having their guts sawn open on live TV?
Maureen's surgeon, that's Mr. Boter, that's the man just a second away from you there, is taking Maureen's stomach. He's going to wrap it around her esophagus and then ties in a big knot.
Yes, that's City Hospital, which, as far as I can tell, is aimed squarely at psychopaths who want to start the day with some bracing graphic imagery.
So I'm using this silver hook-like retractor to just hook the liver out of the way.
Now, call me overcautious, but I can't help thinking it might not be a great idea to interrupt a surgeon as he performs keyhole surgery live on TV.
Mr. Boter, where are you at the moment in the procedure?
Go on, Boter, flick a bit in his face.
Mr. Boter, is it all right to ask you another question whilst you're working?
Why don't you toss him a ball as well, see if he catches it, yeah? And if that hasn't put you off your breakfast, what about a poke round a prison in the leeringly nasty behind bars?
What was it like in here?
Horrendous, to be perfectly honest.
Everywhere
it covered all the walls with excrement. It was all on the floor. The urine was on the floor in the basins, and it was quite horrendous.
And you actually had a really bad experience coming in here, didn't you?
Yes, before we had the door fitted here, we had to come in and serve him the food, and I came in the one day and the smell was so strong that I was actually physically sick through the mask I was wearing. So.
BBC One's baffling morning parade is presumably meant to appeal to the same audience as gaudy human interest magazines. Human interest, of course, being a polite term for ghoulish curiosity. That's why, alongside live gut shots, you'll also find a slew of nasty pre-recorded shows to wallow in, heartwarming fare like Britain's streets of booze. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a place for this kind of thing on TV. I'm just saying 9:15 in the morning. Are you joking?
I don't know how to stop.
And if that's turned you suicidal, then tough. Death itself offers no escape from the harrowing morning slot. Even the deceased get a look in depressing forensic doc Leave No Trace.
And in the jacket pocket was a knife. By this stage, I was getting very, very excited.
Yeah, not quite as excited as the audience, I'll bet. They'll be flicking themselves sick to this. For my money, the best show ever broadcast in this weird rubberneckers morning slot has to be the hilarious Beat the Burglar.
Burglary is never pretty, and it can happen to anyone at any time.
Unless you're homeless. The premise is simple. Find an average family, get them to show you where the valuables are, pop a load of cameras around the house, and then invite a former burglar to come in and teach them a gentle lesson in home security. Go on, get the toothbrushes.
What's down here now? CDs, video camera.
Oh yeah, video camera under the bed. It's like watching a fox in the bins.
The overriding thing I'm getting at the moment is complete impotence.
There's an interesting philosophical thought experiment going on here, as the householders are asked how they'd react if what they'd just seen happen had happened.
I can't even think of a decent analogy, but he's in the inner sanctum of my family. He's right in my kid's room. Does this actually shock you, or would you say you would actually expect this of a burglary?
Yeah, you see this mess? How upset would you be if it was really there?
It's reconciling what is being done today for the purpose of getting us to understand what can happen and realising what really can happen.
Speaking of reconciling, they get to meet the burglar afterwards in a sort of feel-good laugh-a-thon.
It is frightening to face you. Obviously, I've just destroyed your house.
It's a completely surreal situation.
Oh, say. Anyway, there you go, morning TV for vultures. They might as well replace it with footage of a gazelle carcass, all shot from the viewpoint of a bird circling slowly overhead. Mightn't they? Oh, here he is, world's thickest man. Where's a freak wave when you need one? you. Making a television programme, absolutely any television programme, is easy. As easy as falling off a log. Actually, it's not. Even shooting that little bit, in which all I had to do was fall off a log, was a far bigger ache up the backpipe than you might imagine. First of all, we had to pick a location for the log scene. We could have shot it in the street, but that's a pain for various reasons. You have to inform the police you're doing it. There's lots of random street noise, which tends to f things up. And worst of all, which is often fatal. Ponce! Oh, and members of the public tend to call you a ponce. Speaking of members of the public, it's a good job we didn't decide to illustrate this piece with pointless vox pop interviews like this. What's it like being a member of the public? What? Because we have to get them to fill out a release form giving us permission to broadcast the footage. We also have to position the camera so we don't give undue prominence to shop fronts, and make sure he removes that stupid baseball cap with a bloody great logo on the front of it. Actually, using members of the public is such a pain, we decided to cheat and use one of our researchers instead. Look, there he is in the pilot we made earlier this year. Loads of productions do this, we're only telling you about it because we're so bloody postmodern we're about to cut to a shot of me typing these words into the script itself. Anyway, back to the log, and to avoid all that nonsense, we decided to shoot this bit in a park. Battersea Park to be precise, which meant getting permission from Wandsworth Council and buying a log, obviously. But before I can get on and fall off it, we had to do a health and safety check. Yes, even falling off a log can be dangerous, so before we turned up in the park, our production manager had to fill out a form detailing all the potential risks involved. Health and Safety insisted on this crash mat, which means before we can shoot anything, the director and the cameraman have to hold an interminable bloody discussion about how to frame the shot so that it isn't visible. For f***'s sake, will the Right, we've been here for over 3 hours now. We've decided we're going to paint out the crash mat using a computer in the edit. Anyway, assuming the light and the weather holds, which they very rarely do, I'm finally ready to fall off the log. At which point the battery runs out, because equipment hate human. Equipment want revenge. Meanwhile, I've been standing here so long, my revolting skin is starting to shimmer with sweat, so the makeup artist has to come in and touch me up while I make small talk with her. How are you, yeah? Do a lot of makeup, do you? How's the makeup business? How is it, yeah? Finally, after several passes, we think we've got it in the can, which is just as well because the light's fading, but the real fun's only just beginning. Yes, because here in the edit suite, joy upon joys, when we find the bit we need, the boom's in shot, so it's useless. Actually, to be honest with you, the boom wasn't in shot. We were supposed to film a bit where the boom was in shot, but we genuinely forgot. So we had to go through the rigmarole of filming a boom against a background and comping it into a shot for this shot. What a pain in the arse. Anyway, given the number of obstacles involved, little wonder that TV can take an age to make. Exactly how long that age is depends very much on the type of TV you're making. Studio-based shows are generally quickest, as it's an environment designed to make the process as free of random elements as possible. A violently dispiriting talky bumcast like the Jeremy Kyle Show, or a cheapo Open the Boxes quiz, can shoot several episodes in a single day. A non-studio comedy, such as A-list Lovey Fest Extras, might manage to bag 5 minutes in the can, while a flashy cinematic hour-long drama like Casanova can expect to eke out a mere 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes a day! It's like pushing a pea up Ben Nevis with your nose. Yes, the sorry truth is that while TV may look simple on the face of it, behind even the simplest bit of fluff lurks a huge logistical nightmare and hour upon hour of back-breaking toil. Although fortunately, not for us presenters, we just get weighted on hand and foot. What the hell is this? I said I wanted a diet drink, you come and bring me a load of sugar-packed shit. What the f*** is wrong with you? How dare you? Actually, how dare you? Actually, how dare you? How dare you do this to me? This is a insult. Where did we find you anyway? I don't recall taking an advert out in Cretin Monthly, Burke Today. I'm going to talk to you like this for an hour, because that's what you deserve. OK, you're fired from London, just get out.
Loans. I know nothing about loans.
But I'll sell them anyway.
Hi, Phil.
Yeah, hi Phil, what the f*** are you doing?
Then wanted to put his credit cards and bank loans into one loan with easy repayments.
I reckon all this financial talk's making Phil thirsty. He's going to have to get a glass of water in a sec.
Yes, we do our best to find the most appropriate.
Told you.
Thousands of customers every month.
He's sorted then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, whatever.
He has to start making repayments.
Happy days.
Oh, well, that's that sorted then. Time waits for no man, or so they say. Yeah? We'll try telling that to Doctor Who. Yes, the second series has been and gone, and so has Billie Piper, who not only gave a fantastic performance, I think, as Rose, but also allowed viewers to play a fun game called Which Bit of Her Face is the Biggest? It's her eyes, I reckon it's her eyes.
No, nose.
Nostrils,
nose.
eyes.
Mouth, lips.
Now let's get something straight, okay? I love Doctor Who. It somehow bypasses the cynical, nasty, gnarled bit of my brain completely and plugs straight into my gurgling, overgrown child. I love the fact that it's a big, populist drama driven by ideas.
What's happening?
One of them must have found the right time window. Now it's time to send in the troops.
Plus, it scares kids shitless. And I hate kids, so the longer they spend cowering in terror, the better. But nothing's perfect, so while Series 2 is still fresh in our minds, let's compile a little wish list for Series 3, starting with wish number 1. Next time round, less gurning. And by gurning, I mean this.
Who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters!
My little ghosts.
Alright? Less of that. I know Doctor Who has always been an eccentric, and fair enough, Tom Baker used to play him as the sort of man you wouldn't want to... Well, you wouldn't have to use a bath towel after him.
Touch one wire against the other.
But poor old David Tennant, who I think is great in all other respects, seems to have been encouraged to ramp up the goofiness until he becomes perilously close to being one of those archetypal, annoying, wacky characters from a bad US sitcom.
God, they know how to party.
And as for comedy sequences like this... If you ask the Chuckle Brothers to do that, they just go... I don't want Doctor Who bumming around like he's in a bad Tiswas tribute, okay? I want him being brooding and serious.
Hold on.
Wish number 2, be less knowing, because occasionally, this series, the Doctor has behaved like a bit of a, oh, I've seen it all before, sort of arse.
Ah!
Oh, it's space!
Oh, it's a sanctuary base.
Wish number 3, cut the cheese. Okay, it's a good thing that New Who is more emotional than Old Who. Sometimes this series it's been genuinely moving. But rather than tugging your heartstrings occasionally and for great effect, Series 2 seemed to perpetually be yanking at them, which left it looking mawkish. Well, not mawkish, just mork, whatever bloody hell mork is.
This mean that the Olympic dream is dead? There's a mystery man. He's picked up the flame. We've no idea who he is. He's carrying the flame. Yes, he's carrying the flame, and no one wants to stop him. And it's more than a flame now, Bob. It's more than heat and light. It's hope, and it's courage, and it's love.
Anyway, my final wish is a very simple one. Stop messing up the end credits.
A marriage made in... Well, you'll have to wait 170 days to find out. Doctor Who returns to BBC One with The Runaway Bride at Christmas.
Oh, what is the point of getting an orchestra to record a great version of the Doctor Who theme tune and then getting someone in to jabber all over the top of it? Talk about putting the into continuity. Let's see how they like it if I talk all over them.
Time is up. Doomsday has arrived now on BBC One. But is it goodbye?
Anyway, that's what I'd like to see from the next series of Doctor Who. That and an episode where the Doctor gets a rash on his bum. Oh, it seems every other documentary on TV these days is little more than an excuse for titillation, doesn't it, eh? History of Club 1830, please. Let's recall the time when docs were docs, proper docs with learned men, all of which are available as DVD box sets. First up, Civilization, Lord Clark's highly respected overview of the history of Western civilization, which provided the template for other highbrow documentaries to follow. Intended to showcase the as-then-new technology of colour television 37 years after it was first broadcast, it's still a feast for the eyes and brain today. Next, The Ascent of Man, Jacob Bronowski's superb trek through the ages of science. Just as watchable now as it was then, it's a bit like taking a warm bath in university juice, with the occasional stoner freak-out sequence lobbed in for good measure.
If the still point in the string, the node, does not come at one of these exact points, the sound is discordant.
Finally, The World at War, an epic and heart-rending history of the Second World War, worth buying for Laurence Olivier's gracious and affecting voiceover alone.
Down this road, on a summer day in 1944,
the soldiers came.
I once watched the whole thing over a single weekend following a messy breakup. Don't know if it helped at all, but it's a bloody good documentary. Now here's philosopher Jamie White, who wants to talk to you about adverts.
Advertisers aren't stupid. They know what to appeal to. And so you can tell, for example, what people value. So you don't see very many advertisements these days that appeal to people's desire to be respectable, for example, or to be sober. It's all about being sexy and fun and healthy and so on. But at the moment, naturalness or nature is worshipped. And so a lot of products are promoted on the grounds that they are natural. Something is natural if you get it as you would find it in nature, unmanipulated by man's influence. I saw a Jordan's ad recently that had the theme back to nature and lovely pictures of the countryside and so on, as if this product is somehow very natural. But you don't find packets of cereal in nature. You might say that all the ingredients of the cereal packet are natural, but these are unnatural collections of natural stuff, and that's all there can ever be, unless you want to eat butterflies and apples off trees and so on. It's the idea that natural's good that's so silly. Cars are very good in my opinion, whereas syphilis is not. The other peculiar trick is to say that you're more or less something without saying than what. There's an advertisement for Colgate toothpaste which says that using Colgate toothpaste reduces plaque by 98%. Is that compared with not brushing your teeth at all, or is it compared with brushing it with a different toothpaste? Perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps scraping my teeth with a wire brush would reduce plaque by 98%. Unless I get this information in the advertisement, I'm none the wiser. These statistics also often display something I call spurious rigour. 9.5% or something. Well, if it's 9.5%, it must have been worked out scientifically, right? No one just made that up. Kellogg's currently advertises, I think, on the grounds that eating cornflakes makes you 9% more alert.
Kids are on average 9% more alert.
I looked up on the website to work out what this could mean and was very helpfully informed that actually there are a lot of other findings from the research too. Children who had cornflakes were 17% less emotionally distressed or something like that. But what is this measure of emotional distress which admits for precise degrees like 17% more or less? If you were to have a history of advertising, it might be something a bit like a history of stupidity.
Jeremy Kyle was born in London in 1965. Educated at Reading Bluecoat School, then Surrey University, Kyle spent the next 10 years of his life on the road working in recruitment and sales. Kyle became a dad in 1990. 6 years later, a friend told Kyle he had a good voice for radio. He decided to make a tape. In 1996, aged 31, Kyle began his broadcasting career on Kent's Invicta FM. He moved to Orchard FM later that same year. 1997 saw him move to Birmingham's BRMB station, presenting late and live, Sunday to Friday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. In 2001, Kyle moved to the Century FM network, taking his late and live show with him. 1st of July 2002, Kyle hits the big time on Virgin Radio, presenting Jazz's Virgin Confessions, 8 to midnight weekdays.
Oh, you're listening to the Jeremy Kyle.
In a bizarre incident, Kyle's show was cut short one evening when 3 monsters burst into the studio and pissed on him.
Somebody ring in and help me! Does anyone listen up? Does anyone please call the police? Get off! Get off me! Get off me!
Fast forward to today, and the Jeremy Kyle Show secures a 34% audience share in its slot on ITV, attracting up to 1.5 million very thick viewers. Well done, Kyle.
Now, it's been a while since I watched Britain's top soaps, but for the purposes of this show, I decided to return, like a long-lost illegitimate son, to see what's changed since I was last around. First port of call, EastEnders, the BBC's everyday tale of unrealistic, ugly folk. Now, at first glance, it seems not much has changed, although it's a bit more French than I remember.
Try some wine.
Don't mind.
Would you prefer a lager?
No, Martin, that's une lager. Still, at least the buildings are the same. Take the car lot. In real life, that would have been bulldozed to make way for a Nando's Chicken Land years ago. Now it's Quadrophenia Motors. All the businesses in Albert Square function as hand-me-downs. People just inherit them, like old sweaters. Speaking of old sweaters...
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's good to have some familiar faces to cling to. Phil Mitchell's still grunting his way around the square with a head like a scalded bollock.
I've got to get my laughs from somewhere, ain't I?
Ian Beale's just as popular as ever.
I'm telling you to shove it. You're like I'll smack you up and dash you in the microwave.
And Jim Branning still looks like a 95-year-old Tom York. Anyway, since I was last here, a bunch of futuristic newcomers have arrived, like this grumpy bugger, Bradley, whose hair seems to be competing with his cheeks to see which can look the reddest. Thankfully, the show seems to have dropped its tedious obsession with gangsters, which was what made me stop watching in the first place, although some things remain the same. Yes, Walford's still a world of unremitting squalor in which everyone communicates by shouting.
Don't you care that he's bunking?
All right, mate.
What? Well, while you're soaking up the sun, I'm left there trying to pay for everything at home.
At least it's better than being a dried-up, sour-faced, rancorous old boot!
Shut up! Stop shouting at her!
Since it started, EastEnders has prided itself on its realism, but what realism? Exactly. I mean, sometimes it reflects real-world events like the World Cup.
Yeah, well, at least we haven't got to play Germany in the next round.
Yet Walford must have been the only part of London that didn't take part in the recent July the 7th commemoration. Although, weirdly, they did find time to mention Bastille Day.
Yeah.
Bastille Day. Au revoir.
And in tackling social issues, it largely ignores current events that affect the real East End in favour of more pressing concerns like the widespread problem of hungover nurses.
I can't seem to find a vein. Maybe the tourniquet needs tightening.
Student nurse Fowler, I'll take over.
Oh, no one does the bewildered look quite like our Sonia.
Have you been drinking?
No.
I can smell alcohol on you.
What?
All right, hard ass. It's only a bit of liquid fun.
Sonia.
Why am I being singled out here?
Because this isn't just an isolated incident. These last few months,
Have
you been drinking? What? I can smell it on your breath. Have you been drinking again?
No.
Oh, hark at the human breathometer.
Quite frankly, you're a liability. So I've got no choice but to send you home.
If you've been affected by any of the issues in that clip, call the National Drunk Nurse Helpline on 0828...
Yes, when it comes down to it, EastEnders is so unlike the actual East End, it might as well be set in Narnia. The real East End has got Hawksmoor churches and fashionable nightclubs and a thriving Bangladeshi community. Walford's just got Keith Miller swabbing windows with a rag on a stick.
Dedicate my whole life to it, haven't I?
Actually, that rag on a stick might be one of these new characters, I'm not sure. Anyway, despite all that, EastEnders has definitely improved since I last tuned in. Just sitting through a few episodes has got me hooked all over again by osmosis, even if, like my glaring alcohol addiction, it ultimately won't bring me happiness. Or anyone else, come to that.
I don't like you. Rebecca. You make everyone sad. Leave us alone.
Isn't life fantastic? You've got the looks, the clothes, the money. You are living the dream, my friend. Oh. Except you're not, are you? The dream's just that, a dream. Real life doesn't work like that. Real life's a knobbly old mess full of graft and tedium and unexpected kicks to the nuts, spiritually speaking. So how come half the time your TV's smothered with glittering f***wits like that? Fuck! Off! No. You know what I'm talking about. Modern aspirational TV. You're supposed to want to be like the youths from the shiny happy OC, and it works. You do. Yes, you do. Stop lying. You do. Aspirational. Aspirational. It's a term that crops up time and time again in commissioning briefs. In the minds of TV execs, viewers don't simply want to watch things. Oh, no. They want to aspire to be them. The thinking goes that if you watch the glittering world, you'll feel like you're part of it. Even though you aren't, of course. You're just a pleb gawping at a box. Oh, just a poop. I want to be like the pretty people on the television, Dotty. Ooh. Ooh. In a sense, 'twas ever thus. Adverts have always depicted an aspirational lifestyle, be it a vision of suburban, coffee-slurping smuggitude, or a world of unreal fantasy. It's their job to dazzle you with images that make you feel inadequate, then offer a magic solution. They're selling you a membership card. Buy this car or use this shampoo or drink this booze. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be part of the glamour gang too for about 30 seconds until they try and flog you something else. The monsters! But it wasn't long before the aspirational virus leaked out of the adverts and infected the programmes themselves. I first became aware of it back in the 80s when shows like Dallas did their level best to make you feel suicidally inadequate for not being a billionaire tycoon. I was a mere stripling at the time, but even then I was left with a sense that I could never compete, that no matter how hard I tried in life, I'd never match up to the chandelier-shagging anointed ones.
JR, you are the daddy.
In those days, the focus was money. Today, it's every aspect of your life. Everywhere you look, it's, hey, look how thin the housewives are, you should lose a few pounds. They enjoy a load of dick and shoes, why don't you? And, wouldn't it be nice to get on like the cast of Friends? But this is fantasy, reality just doesn't compare. Normal life damp and grey by comparison. No wonder everybody's miserable. And I mean literally everybody. Look at him, he's miserable. So's she and him. Now that is misery. Trouble is, while aspirational adverts at least serve a purpose, i.e. selling you stuff, aspirational programming doesn't. It just feeds the void, the sense of lack, the gulf between them and you. It stokes it up and up and up like a low self-esteem engine until finally, where can you turn for a solution? Where do you think? The solution being change yourself. Yeah, toss your wardrobe out, wear the same uniform as the rest of us. Or look how smouldering and happy Nigella is, maybe cookery will save you. Or saw your face off and get it remade properly. Yeah, maybe that'll help, maybe then you'll fit in. Surely it's a rum state of affairs when TV actively encourages you to hack yourself apart in the name of self-worth. I mean, hacking up a stranger, okay, that I can understand. But this is just sick. Seems to me our aspirational parameters are all out of whack. OK, for the sake of argument, let's say you get the money, you get the looks, you get the fashion. Congratulations, you've become this little tit.
Caesar's Palace. Caesar's Palace. Game's on.
And surprise, surprise, all the other aspirants hate you.
You got, it's the highest ever.
Oh,
tell you, honestly, 91.6%.
You're joking. Anyway, balls to aspiration, it's a tosser's mirage. Far better to just sit here and sneer at the lot of it, isn't it, eh? That's what we like to do, isn't it, eh? Have a good sneer, eh? Hey, that cheers us up, doesn't it, eh? Bit of camaraderie like that, yeah? I knew I'd put a smile on your face. We're all right, ain't we, mate, yeah? On next week's show, housemates versus Hitler, who's worst? And we offer some would-be celebrities their very own 40 seconds of fame. I'm very sorry. It's not going to be you.